Hello. Welcome to the third part in this series on Is Just a Thought. Last time we were here, we talked about how the thinking process can either be performed with the memory and ego going at full blast, associating everything that you see and hear to yourself, and it leading to subjective thinking, which allowed you to suffer because you related everything to yourself. And we talked about objective thinking, where you take acceptance of what is coming in through your channels of sense organs, and then analyzing that for what it is, right in the moment and now. Not associating it with yourself, but seeing every piece of information anew, and this leads to no suffering. So what we said we'll do in this part 3 is figure out how to do objective thinking. Some tricks that you might be able to use in trying to think, THINK, some things you may be able to figure out on how you can think more objectively. And I'd like to introduce you to 3 things that, if you can remember these, hopefully these will help. So, the first one, say to yourself, what if everything I know is wrong? What if everything I know is wrong? Why make such a statement? Is because when we take information from the outside world and we analyze it, we evaluate it with memory. You cannot recognize something that you don't already know. And as a result, when we perform the analysis, the beginning stage is all to do with memory. And this memory, therefore, colors everything that comes into us. Words, phrases, sounds, everything. And this memory stays with you. And this memory has been formed through years. This memory could be useful or it could be non-useful, depending on how you acquired the memory. So what you need to do in order to go from a suffering subjective thinking to a non-suffering objective thinking, you've got to delete your memory. And the only way to say that is that I'm going to assume that every impression I form about a thing may be incorrect. And I'm going to look at something anew. I'm going to look at it fresh every time and form my opinion there and then. I'm not going to base it on how I have thought in the past. Now you're dissociating past thinking with current thinking. There are many things that you know that you think are absolutely true, but they aren't. The sky is not blue, but you think that's absolutely true. The sun rises. It's not true. The earth falls backwards, spins backwards. The sun stays still. Yet we all go out there and watch a lovely sunset or a sunrise. Okay? So, what if everything I know is wrong? By doing that reset in your mind, what you're saying is that I'm going to look at everything anew. I'm not going to react in the way that I've always done to incoming information. So I am going to be creative. Rather than reactive. When somebody says something to me, rather than going, because I'm reactive, because I'm pulling down from my memory what I know of that phrase or that person from the past, and I immediately react to it. Rather than that, I'm not going to pull that information down. I'm going to say, what is happening? What is the objective thing? This person is in front of me, they're saying this. That's the objective look at it. And then I'm going to take that information and I'm going to be creative about it. Notice, creative, reactive. The only difference is the position of the letter C. So imagine that seeing is the difference between being a creative person or being a reactive person. And this is based on the fact, what if everything I know is wrong? Remember that as a phrase. The second one, that's very important. I am enough. One of the main reasons for being reactive is because within you, deep down in your subconscious, you actually feel limited. You actually feel that you've already assessed yourself to be limited, to be suffering from the thing that somebody has just said from the outside world. That's the reason you react. If you didn't, then there would be no emotion generated within you. Now you have to eliminate that. This is again part of memory. So the way you consider yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not bright enough, I'm not tall enough, short enough, thin enough, fat enough, whatever it is, this has got to go. And you simply replace it with, I am enough. This is me. This is as good as it gets. I want to be happy. Therefore, I'm not going to pine for the things I do not have. I'm going to get rid of, so I'm going to have no wanting. When you want something, you put your mind into turmoil because you want something that you don't have. And wanting something actually says to the universe, I'm lacking. You must be lacking, otherwise you wouldn't want it. Now is the time to say, I have enough. I may not be very tall, but I'm tall enough. I may not be very bright or very beautiful, but I'm bright enough. I'm beautiful enough. I am enough. Eliminate the wanting. And once you do that, you stop being reactive when these statements come at you from the outside world. So the enough bit actually provides you with the power to react to events in a method that's called equanimity, which means if something happens that causes suffering, normally it would cause suffering. Somebody said something to you, or you've decided that you've just seen that you've lost some money. You must treat that in the same way as you would treat some sort of gain. So, equanimity. I think that's how you spell equanimity. So equanimity. So don't let yourself be elated by good things and run down to the floor on bad things, because that's, again, taking a judgment call. When you don't place a judgment, when you basically say, I am enough. Judgment says what? It's a relational thing. Judgment says, I should have more money than I have. I should be better looking than I am. I should be more intelligent than I am. That's a judgment call. When you eliminate the judgment call, you eliminate the wanting, then whether it's an item that would normally cause suffering or gain or pleasure, you have an equanimity, a balance of mind between both of those conditions. You must perform your tasks to the best of your ability, but you must not be tied to the result. At every point in our lives, actions need to be performed. And you perform that action to the very best of your ability, causing least harm to those around you and to yourself. But what that yields as a result is neither here nor there. You'd like it to be a good result because that's the way that you performed your action. But should it not be that way, and there are many other variables as to why it may not be that way, should it not yield the result that you expected, at that time you evaluate to say, what's the best thing I can do now? And that's a style of living that I would call living in the now. Don't live in the future. Happiness is not, as they say, a destination. It's the journey. It's the now. The now is the only experience you've ever had. It's the only place in which you experience. An experience can be a good one or a bad one. It can be a happy one. It can be an unhappy one. It's up to you. But the experience takes place now. So be in the now. Take every moment to its best possible advantage, where you do the least harm to yourself or others. That's the chosen path that you could go down, whether it's to think something, say something, do something. These are all three actions: word, thought, and deed. So live in the now. Consider yourself to be enough. And delete your reactive preferences of the past from your mind and relearn anew. Be creative rather than reactive. And if you follow these three basic rules, you'll see you become a much better objective thinker.